you've kind of shook the boxing world with what was announced last night, signing to Zuffa Boxing and Dana White. So the obvious question I've got to ask you straight away is why Zuffa Boxing and why Dana White?
Well, listen, it wasn't an easy decision. It was a decision that, weighed heavy on me. But it was the best decision for me and my family. And ultimately, it was an offer that I couldn't turn down.
I texted him and said, I think we should have a call. I think you, for everything I've done for you, I think I deserve a call. And he said, no. Man, I can't believe it. Very painful. I don't know, feels a little bit of a wasted few years. Pretty devastated.
Is there a bigger than Eddie Hearn?
He was quite upset that Conor Benn left.
Is there a bigger than Eddie Hearn?
I made a commitment towards Conor Benn to put everything on the line for him in terms of my integrity, at times, my health, do you know what I mean? My mind, to go in and argue with Simon Jordan for a year on TalkSport, to argue with the British Boxing Board of Control, to argue with the whole of social media, to argue with every journalist in the game, to repeatedly stand by him, and that's what hurts the most.
Chaos has erupted between Dana White and Eddie Hearn as Conor Benn has officially left Matchroom Boxing and joined Zuffa Boxing. Conor Benn explained what convinced him to buy into Dana White's vision for Zuffa Boxing. He said what Dana built commands respect, and that credibility made the move into boxing feel legitimate. Benn added that with serious backing behind it, he was proud to be part of the project.
What is it about him that sold you that dream of Zuffa Boxing?
He's a cool guy, number one. And to see what he's done with the UFC, you've got to rate it and respect it and how he's made it what it is today. He's decided to get into boxing. He's backed by some heavy people, and it's a pleasure to be a part of it.
Conor Benn made it clear that his decisions are about securing his family's future. He called the offer too big to refuse and admitted his career has taken an unexpected turn. Benn added that he values his relationship with Matchroom and Eddie Hearn, but any choice he makes has to secure his long-term future, knowing the spotlight won't last forever.
I'm doing this for my family. It's an offer that you'd be mentally ill to turn down. So for me, I'm blessed to be in the position I'm in. I'm happy to be in the position I'm in. My career's taken again yet another turn in a direction I didn't think it would turn into. But I want to maintain my relationship with Matchroom, specifically Eddie Hearn, Frank Smith. So when it comes down to a decision that I need to make, whether it's easy or not, or whether it's comfortable or not, it's a decision that I had to make for me and my family. In 10 years' time, in 15 years' time, when I'm done and retired, will anybody care about me then? No, nobody will. Right now I'm hot property, right now I'm this, right now I'm that.
Conor Benn also shared an official statement after leaving Eddie Hearn and Matchroom, thanking them for a decade of support through his career's highs and lows. He said he'll always be grateful to Hearn, but couldn't pass up the opportunity with Zuffa Boxing. He hopes Hearn stays involved and looks forward to legacy fights on the biggest stages, confident in his prime. Eddie Hearn admitted he felt devastated after Conor Benn chose to sign with Dana White. Hearn said he asked for a call after everything they had been through, but Benn declined. Eddie described feeling shocked and hurt, believing their loyalty and past support deserved at least a conversation. He acknowledged backing Conor financially and professionally during tough times, then questioned whether that loyalty was returned. Still, Hearn said he would remain classy, even as the disappointment fueled his motivation moving forward.
When I received the email from his lawyer, I texted him and said, I think we should have a call. I think for everything I've done for you, I think I deserve a call. And he said, no. Man, I can't believe it. Very painful. I don't know, feels a little bit of a wasted few years. Pretty devastated. I've had a few days to digest what might happen, so maybe this interview's different to what it would have been a couple of days ago. It's not often you get shocked, and I blame myself. I forgot it was boxing. The loyalty that we've shown would never ever put us in this position. I made a mistake because I misjudged the character. And I backed him. When he was done, out, loaned him hundreds of thousands of pounds. You know, some people, loyalty really matters. Other people, maybe not so. There's a lot I could say, but we'll keep it classy. Maybe he's not quite the person I thought he was. I don't know. Look, maybe we'll talk in the future, but what can I say? He's just put a little bit more of a rocket up my to say, okay, we'll see.
However, Dana White downplayed the situation with sarcasm, openly mocking Eddie Hearn's reaction to losing Conor Benn. He framed it as business, not betrayal, insisting Benn chose the bigger offer and had every right to do so. Dana pushed back on claims that the deal could not be matched, arguing that Hearn had the opportunity and failed to close it. He dismissed suggestions of calls went unanswered and rejected speculation about a finalized fight, stating clearly that if anything were official, it would have already been announced.
I think you saw this week, I am really beating up babies. Is there a bigger than Eddie Hearn?
He was quite upset that Conor Benn left him.
Is there a bigger than Eddie Hearn? This guy's supposed to be your friend. You're crying he made more money. He's going to make more money, and he had the right to match it. He could have matched it.
I think he said he tried and Conor Benn wouldn't return his calls.
What a crock of Yeah. We're literally beating up babies.
Conor Benn also shared that he's fully aligned with Zuffa Boxing and long-term vision and is excited about what's ahead. Benn said visiting the UFC facility and seeing what Dana's team built from the ground up gave him confidence in the direction they're heading. He described this as a new chapter in his career and expressed gratitude for being in a position to grow alongside an ambitious organization with big plans for boxing.
What are the future plans with you and Zuffa Boxing?
To be honest, I'm really excited to be part of the team and also, share their vision and be part of their plans. Going to the UFC facility, seeing what they've done, build it from the ground up. I'm really excited for this next season of my career and see what it holds. But it's a pleasure to be associated with the organisation. It's a pleasure to be associated with Zuffa and the names that they're looking at signing and what they plan on doing in boxing. So for me to be in the position that I'm in, I'm very fortunate and very blessed.
Eddie Hearn further said that UFC fighters are being underpaid in comparison to deals like Conor Benn's reported $15 million payday. Hearn argued there's little loyalty in the system and suggested some fighters aren't treated with respect. He pointed to Tom Aspinall's situation as an example, implying the heavyweight was publicly undermined despite his efforts inside the cage. For Hearn, the contrast in compensation and treatment couldn't be ignored.
How do you think UFC fighters will be feeling seeing the figures?
Sick as a dog. Sick as a dog.
Deal.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a UFC fighter, you're looking at this Zuffa going, what? I'm being absolutely ripped off here. I'm generating more revenue than these guys, and I'm getting a tenth of the money. But listen, there's no loyalty in that game. Look at Aspinall. I mean, he gets his eyes gouged out, and he just gets humiliated by UFC, and basically told everyone he's a liar and this is a cutthroat business.
Who on earth is finding them the money to pay him?
Well, it starts with T and it ends with shake.
Conor Benn also expressed deep respect for Eddie Hearn, saying he's asked him to remain part of his team. He emphasized that his decision to join Zuffa Boxing is driven entirely by family, not ego, and that legacy isn't about belts, but about providing for his kids. Benn said he wants to look back knowing he made the best choice for his family, recognizing that once he retires, only those closest to him truly matter.
I've got nothing but love for Eddie. If I said Eddie to be part of my team in my corner, still with me, because the journey's not over. I have a friendship with Eddie, so I'm forever grateful. I'm also excited about the future and what it brings. For me, I've got family, I've got my own kids. I want my family to be blessed, and the decision I made is purely for my family. Miguel Cotto once said to me, "What's your legacy?" I've gone, "Yeah, you're my hero. You're this and you're that." He's gone, "Why?" I've gone, "You're a great fighter. You won all the belts." He's going, "The belts don't mean nothing. Your kids are your legacy. You want to look back in the future and go, was the decision I made the best decision for my kids? This is by far the best decision for my family, because I'm not going to refuse a deal for somebody's ego, because when I'm said and done and retired, who's going to care about me?"
Conor Benn stressed that Eddie Hearn is his friend and he wants him involved in his journey. He reached out directly, saying he wants Hearn to stay part of his team, emphasizing that the journey isn't over and that he owes everything to him.
Of course, he's my friend, he's my guy. He's my guy. Ultimately, he should be happy for me that I'm in this position that I'm in. I want him to be part of it. I'm messaging him directly saying, "Eddie, I want you to be part of the team, man. I want you to be here. The journey's not done. I owe everything to them.
On the other hand, the boxing world has shared its thoughts on this surprising decision from Conor Benn. Carl Frampton called Conor Benn's move to Dana White the biggest betrayal in boxing he can remember. He said it was shocking, given everything Eddie Hearn has done for Benn.
It was mental. I think, for me, this is the biggest betrayal I can remember in boxing. For everything Eddie's done for the kid, backed him to the hilt, you know.
You've been involved. I don't want to go too much into it, but you've been betrayed yourself in boxing as well.
Yeah, but this is different. I think just how much Eddie put his neck on the line for the lad and everyone else, Frank and the whole team at Matchroom. How they backed him, how they got him a couple of fights before the Eubank fights. How they loaned him money to live while he was struggling. What he made 20 million the 2 Eubank fights, something around that number anyway. And to jump ship with someone who you have a real rivalry with now as well. It's not like someone around. It's Dana White. He's jumped ship with Dana White. I would easily say the biggest betrayal that I can remember in boxing.
Backing him fully throughout his career, Oscar De La Hoya shares that he understood Eddie Hearn's disappointment, but reminded him that promoters can't get emotionally attached. He explained that getting too close to fighters often leads to frustration, and loyalty doesn't always work both ways. De La Hoya advised Eddie to move on, emphasizing that fighters come and go while the business endures, and the focus must remain on the bigger picture.
Yeah, do I feel bad for Eddie? Absolutely, I feel bad for Eddie, but the great promoter, probably the greatest promoter in boxing, Bob Arum, told me, Oscar, don't fall in love with fighters. They'll break your heart. And I've taken that to heart, and I know that for a fact. I've been through it myself. So, Eddie, you got to stop crying. Just let it go. It's okay. Fighters come and go. Us promoters stay. So don't worry about it. It's the fighters that I've had, well, it's only been a couple, but like Canelo and I believe some other guy, but they come and go. That's the bottom line. Look, when you're a fighter, yes, there's something called loyalty and appreciation, and it's unfortunate that some fighters don't have that. It's just very unfortunate, but you just move on. You move on with your business and you do what you do.
Oscar De La Hoya viewed the move as something that would understandably leave Eddie Hearn angry, calling it unfair and hard to defend. He questioned how a decision like that could be made without regard for Hearn's position, then focused on the money behind it. Oscar expressed doubt about reports of a one-fight deal worth 8 figures, pointing out that Benn would demand an enormous fee. In De La Hoya's view, the real issue wasn't the number being floated, but who would realistically step up to pay it.
Eddie Hearn must be pissed off. Eddie Hearn must be pissed off. My God, how can they do that to Eddie Hearn? It is not right. I heard it's a one-fight deal
for 8 figures.
And what I don't understand is who is paying him? I don't understand who is paying him, Conor Benn, because he's gonna demand a lot of money. If it's going to be 8 figures, whatever it might be, he's going to demand a lot of money. So I'm not sure who's going to pay.
Chris Eubank Jr. also reacted with sarcasm to the split between Eddie Hearn and Conor Benn. He noted that Hearn stuck with Benn through his toughest moments, both publicly and financially, then questioned who was really at fault, the promoter or the fighter who walked away. He framed it as a messy clash on both sides and said he wasn't surprised by how it unfolded. Chris Eubank said, "So Eddie Hearn's #1 fighter has now left him. Hearn stuck with Conor through thick and thin, getting him off of drug charges and giving him money to live when he had nothing. I guess this really shows how much of a scumbag Hearn actually is. He saves his fighter's life and career, and Conor still doesn't want to be involved with him. Or is Ben the scumbag for dumping the man who built him? This really is a conundrum. Scumbag on scumbag violence at its finest. Don't say I didn't tell you guys." Frank Smith expressed devastation over Conor Benn leaving Matchroom for Zuffa Boxing. He said that after dedicating years to a fighter, you expect a certain level of loyalty and communication, like a proper conversation before a move. Smith admitted he wasn't entirely shocked, as he always had doubts about Benn's character, but still found the outcome disappointing. In the end, he said there's no choice but to accept it and move on.
It's very different if you've promoted someone for 1 fight, 2 fights, 3 fights, right? You kind of can't expect the same level of loyalty or at least relationship. And I think the right way to go about it is have a sit down or a phone call and say, look, have that discussion. But this just didn't go like that. It's a shame, you know. I'm not personally shocked because I always kind of knew what he was in terms of like his character. I always knew, in my opinion, he had this kind of, I don't know whether you call it behaviour or what you want to call it, but you know, I think when you dedicate 10 years to someone and you go through the things we've been through with him, maybe the expectations think, oh no, he wouldn't do that. But again, it's he's done it, hasn't he? So got to move on.
Furthermore, Johnny Nelson also reflected on Conor Benn joining Zuffa Boxing, noting that Eddie Hearn had hinted at it days earlier. Nelson said the move highlighted questions of loyalty, pointing out that when someone is good to you, you should be good to them in return. He warned that Benn could face heavy backlash, emphasizing that Eddie fights fiercely for those he backs, and making an enemy of him comes with serious consequences.
The moment you saw that post, "Welcome to Zuffa Boxing, Conor Benn," what's the first thing that went through your head?
The first thing that went through my head was Eddie said something 2 days ago, and he said something about fighters or leavers, fighters, you know, this will happen, this is business, in regards to Dana White's back and forth with them. So Eddie knew a few days ago, but it was just a bit of an odd thing to say when he said it. And so that kind of stood out. I went, oh, that's what you were referring to, because Eddie said he knew a few days ago. What my thoughts on it? Well, you know my thoughts on loyalty. And if someone's good to me, if someone's right to me, you know, I'm right to them. Brendan, I'm fiercely loyal to Brendan because of what he did and how he did change my life. And I get that. For Conor, I think Conor's going to get a hell of a lot of backlash because Eddie, as I've said before, if Eddie's on your side, he's going to fight tooth and nail. He's going to put his heart on the line for you. He'll do everything. The worst thing you want to be is an enemy of Eddie.
Meanwhile, Henry Garcia cautioned that established fighters like Conor Benn had little reason to risk their careers on an unproven organization. He explained that joining an unfinished system could stall progress and limit future matchups, adding layers of politics fighters already face. While big money might tempt some, Garcia doubted such offers would realistically materialize, except perhaps for true stars like Ryan Garcia. For Benn, he concluded, jumping in before the model was fully tested simply wasn't worth the risk.
Well, you know, that organization just started, and if I were a boxer that's already been established, you don't want to test something out that hasn't been perfected yet. You know what I mean? Zuffa hasn't been perfected yet, so you're gonna ruin your career. And now that you signed, you can't fight people like us. Is that correct?
Yeah, you're right.
You can't fight.
It takes time.
It takes time. And it's, if you think there's politics now, it's more politics.
But Henry, if they offer you 20 million, you're taking the fight.
Well, you know what? Again, it's up to the managers, but I'm telling you, I don't think Dana White will give away 20 million. I don't think
maybe
so.
For Ryan's a superstar.
Well, that's true, maybe. But anyways, you don't go on the other side unless it's been tested, and I don't think Zuffa has been tested.
Dave Coldwell slammed Conor Benn for signing with Dana White, describing his shock when he first saw the news. He recalled being at home when his son told him Benn had left, and at first he thought it was a joke or a fake post. Once he realized it was true, Coldwell admitted he was genuinely rocked, saying very little in boxing surprises him, but this one hit hard.
Conor Benn to Zuffa Boxing. Where were you when you read it or saw it, and how did you react?
So, I was at home, my son, my little boy shouts out, Conor Benn's left Eddie. I was like, shut up, you idiot. And I thought he was just joking. It shows me the post, and at first, I thought it was like one of these bag accounts that come out with some rubbish. And I literally ripped the piss out of him and told him, you're talking shit, mate. And then I looked, I was like, oh my God. Genuinely, there's not a lot that shocks me in boxing. That rocked me big time. I was proper shocked. I can't believe it.
I'm not asking you to pick sides here, but I'm sort of seeing people making arguments for both. You know, Conor's got a short career, maximised your earning potential, but Eddie backed him pretty strongly over the past few years.
It's not about picking sides.
Dave Coldwell acknowledged that Eddie Hearn and Matchroom backed Conor Benn through his toughest moments, including failed drug tests and public criticism. He understood why Benn might be drawn to a lucrative deal, but his issue wasn't the choice itself, it was how Benn handled it. Coldwell criticized Benn for sending an email through his lawyer and refusing to speak directly, calling that approach disrespectful and wrong.
Eddie and Matchroom, you know, to everybody, they've backed him. They've backed Conor throughout the dark days, throughout the 2 failed drug tests. They've backed him to the hill. They've took a lot along the way and turned a lot of people against him. Backing the man. Fair enough to believe in the man. Back your man. Fair enough. And I understand that if somebody's coming to Conor and saying, look at this, here you go. If that's the way you are, if his money's, you know, above everything else, 10 million a fight or whatever it's reported to be, I understand why you'd want to take that. But it's not like his skin. It's a good few mil. But if that's what you want to do, fair enough. My issue isn't what he's done, it's how he's done it. To think that after everything that they've done is an email from his lawyer and then to refuse to speak to him, mate, I think that's scummy. And I just think it's wrong.
Meanwhile, Idea Oladipo said he was shocked when he first learned that Conor Benn had joined Zuffa Boxing. He admitted the news blew his mind and that even 48 hours later, he was still surprised. He noted that reactions have been consistent, with many criticizing Benn for leaving Eddie Hearn despite the support he received. He acknowledges there's always more to the story, but expects scrutiny and debate to continue as long as Benn remains with Zuffa Boxing.
I knew about this information as soon as I got to Vegas, and it kind of blew my mind. I was like, that's impossible. Like a lot of you guys, I was shocked, I was surprised, yeah, and I'm still shocked and surprised 48 hours after. It has been so interesting seeing the reaction to it, not just from Frank and Eddie and Conor, but I mean just the reaction from general people like me and you. Everyone's reaction has been kind of the same. I think a lot of people are kind of pointing the finger at Conor, like, how dare you leave Eddie when Eddie's protected you and he's done this and he's done that. There's always more to a story than that, people. But I think that's been the general reaction and reception. And I expect that to continue for as long as Conor's with Zuffa Boxing.
Tony Bellew called the situation emotional, saying Eddie Hearn rarely formed strong attachments, but was fully invested in Conor Benn. He noted that Frank Smith and others were equally committed behind the scenes. Bellew admitted it's disappointing, but emphasized that in boxing, these setbacks are part of the game. It's tough, but that's the reality.
Listen, it's emotional, it's heartfelt, and Eddie isn't really attached to many fighters these days. He was probably one he was attached to the most and the most invested in. And I wouldn't say from a money perspective, because you've got Joshua still. But
other than age, it probably was Conor though, right?
Yeah, the most he's actually emotionally invested in, 100%, yeah. And he really feels it. But for a man who's been in the sport as long as he has, it's still lessons learned. And I feel for him. He knows I'm always there for him. And Frank as well. Frank's so invested, because you wouldn't believe how deep it goes with the likes of Frank and stuff from that side of things. But mate, I'd like to say not shocking.
It's just boxing, isn't it?
It is what it is.
So that's all we have from today's video. Let us know what you think about the fight in the comments, and make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest updates and insider breakdowns.